Welcome to this explainer. Today we're jumping right in to the incredibly restorative world of no-dig gardening and discovering why vibrant, truly healthy soil actually begins deep underground.
Okay, let's dive into this. If you've ever looked out at a modern, small urban garden, or maybe a fresh raised bed, and just felt completely overwhelmed by the thought of heavy digging, what if you simply stopped? What if the absolute best way to tend your garden is to step back and just let nature do the heavy lifting for you? I mean, for generations, we were taught that plunging a spade into the earth and turning that soil was, the ultimate symbol of a hardworking gardener. But today, many growers are rediscovering a beautiful, restorative approach that works seamlessly with the earth, rather than constantly fighting against it.
At the very heart of this no-dig philosophy is one beautifully simple yet profound idea. The soil is alive. Whether you've got a sprawling countryside plot or just a small raised bed in a new-build urban garden, there is a hidden, microscopic world thriving right beneath your feet. It is, quite literally, a living city underground. So, what exactly is this soil ecosystem? Well, it's an extraordinarily complex underground environment filled with living organisms all working together to recycle nutrients, retain moisture, and support plant growth. Healthy soil is far, far more than just the dirt holding your plant roots in place. It's a completely living, breathing entity. Literally every single spadeful of healthy soil contains millions of organisms constantly at work.
So, who exactly lives in this bustling underground metropolis? Well, the citizens of the soil include our earthworms, the fungi, bacteria, various insects, and of course the plant roots themselves. Just imagine that rich, dark compost outside your door right now. It's absolutely teeming with these inhabitants, all going about their daily lives, silently building the very foundation of your garden's health.
And just like any well-functioning city, everyone here has a vital job to do. The earthworms? They're your structural engineers, creating tunnels that naturally improve drainage and airflow. The fungus form vast, intricate networks. It's honestly almost like an underground internet, helping your plants absorb water and essential nutrients. The bacteria are the recyclers, breaking down dead material into usable plant food. And the plant roots act as the foundation, stabilizing the soil itself. These roles interlock perfectly. Together, they naturally build healthy, fertile ground without us having to lift a finger.
Knowing all of this, we really have to look at the hidden cost of our traditional gardening habits. For decades, getting out the spade and turning the ground over every spring was seen as a badge of honor, right? But when we truly understand that the soil is a delicate, interconnected city, we have to gently ask ourselves, what is the true impact of plunging a heavy spade into that ecosystem year after year? And this brilliantly illustrates the problem, as our source material notes. Digging soil every year is a little like rebuilding a city every spring and expecting the population to thrive. That hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? This illustrates exactly what happens when we repeatedly disturb the earth. The ecosystem might survive the upheaval, sure, but it's forced to constantly rebuild its homes, its networks, and its tunnels from scratch, rather than settling in and actually flourishing.
When we compare the two methods directly, the differences are pretty stark. Traditional digging disrupts those delicate fungal networks and literally collapses the worm tunnels we just talked about. It exposes dormant weed seeds to the light and causes the soil to lose its moisture and nutrients incredibly quickly. Because the ecosystem is weakened, gardeners then have to constantly add artificial fertilizers and extra water just to compensate. On the other hand, the no-dig method preserves those delicate microbial habitats. It actively blocks light from reaching weed seeds using a gentle layer of mulch, and it retains moisture naturally, a real game changer.
So, the crucial point is, let's focus on that weed issue for a second, because it's something almost every gardener battles. The typical weed disturbance cycle works like this. The soil is turned over. The buried, dormant weed seeds are suddenly brought to the surface. The sunlight and warmth trigger rapid germination, and suddenly, a fresh, thick layer of weeds grows. Which means, of course, more weeding is required. By digging to create a beautifully tidy bed, we're ironically triggering a deeply frustrating, exhausting cycle of endless weeding for ourselves.
But there is a better way, and it's incredibly hopeful and inspiring. Welcome to nature's no-dig method. Now, this isn't exactly a brand new invention. Modern no-dig growing, which has been wonderfully popularized by experienced growers like Charles Dowding, actually mimics the way ancient forests and meadows have built rich topsoil for millions of years. Nature doesn't use rotavators or spades, right? It simply allows organic matter to settle gently on the surface and decompose in its own time.
Here are the remarkably simple steps to replicate this in your own space. Step 1. Add a layer of compost or mulch directly to the surface of your soil. Step 2. Let the earthworms and microorganisms pull those nutrients down naturally over time. Step 3. Allow the fungal networks to thrive completely undisturbed. That's really the whole shebang. Even if you're a complete beginner with just a small raised bed in an urban new build, this method is highly achievable, deeply restorative, and incredibly rewarding.
Now, what's really interesting to clarify here is that no-dig absolutely does not mean doing nothing. You're still actively caring for your garden, you're lovingly feeding the soil with compost, you're removing the occasional weed that blows in, and you're tending to your crops and flowers. The beautiful difference is that you're doing this in a gentle partnership with nature. You're stepping back and letting the underground ecosystem do the heavy lifting for you.
It's all about partnering with your soil. In our fast-paced, modern lives, this method invites us to slow down and reconnect with the restorative, natural rhythms of the earth. By treating the soil as a living partner rather than a stubborn opponent that needs to be wrestled into submission, we're rewarded in ways that traditional, intensive gardening simply cannot match. And the best part?
Let's move along and see how this builds, because the rewards of this patience come surprisingly fast. In your very first season of no-dig, you're going to notice a significant reduction in weeds and much better moisture retention, saving you hours of watering. By the second season, your soil becomes visibly richer, darker, and significantly easier to manage. And years later, you'll have a highly biologically active soil full of robust, resilient plants and a drastically decreased need for watering or artificial inputs. The benefits literally compound, season after season.
Which brings us to the core philosophy of this entire approach. Rather than exhausting the soil and draining it of its life force, every single season you practice no-dig helps build fertility for the future. The soil is never an opponent to fight. It's a living, breathing partner that rewards our gentle, mindful care with increasingly fertile ground, vibrant biodiversity, and a space absolutely humming with life. So, I'll leave you with this final, quietly inspiring thought. Next time you step out your back door and into your garden, take a long look at the ground beneath your feet and ask yourself, are you working against the soil or are you growing alongside it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. May your gardens be full of life both above and below the ground.